I'm afraid I've been putting off dealing with the Alex Belfield case for so many reasons, and I think I ought to do it now, or at least start doing it now. And if we start with Jeremy Vine is a broadcaster on Radio 5 and Radio 2. I've actually been reading his autobiography in the last few days, and at the beginning, he's got a wonderful point where he talks about old editors from local newspapers, and and he also talks about how editors gang together and decide what is going to be the news. But he says, really, the best news is what comes in from the people. When somebody comes into the newspaper and says, I've got a story. When somebody rings in on the radio and says, this has happened to me. Ordinary people always have the most interesting stories because they're real and because they've not been manufactured or controlled by a PR person, and the teeth haven't been taken out of it. It's real, it's raw. And Jeremy Vine was in court giving evidence against Alex Belfield, who he called quite famously, it was reported in the BBC, the Jimmy Savile of trolling. That's pretty severe. John McGuinness, QC, said that Vine had been subjected to a constant bombardment of tweets and YouTube videos. Vine said watching this man was like swimming in sewerage. He's not a regular troll, he said. He referred to Vine. He referred to Alex Belfield as pursuing an Olympic level of stalking. At one point, he told how he gave advice to his daughter, and his daughter was very reluctant to go outside for about a year. He said he hates me. He's accused me of stealing. He's driven so much hatred towards me, girls. We're going to have to be very careful. That's what he said to his daughters. He talked about an avalanche of hate, and this was all centred on allegations that there was £1,000 donation to the Myers Memorial Fund for a person called John Myers, I think, who died in 2019. And he was supposed to have purloined this. It doesn't stack up. But Belfield would not let go and just went on and on about this. I understand Vine's concerns. And Vine also pointed out that he had experienced, the more conventional stalking. He had experienced a physical stalker, and he said this was so much worse. He said the physical stalking was a picnic compared to this guy. I am sympathetic because years and years ago, I myself attracted a stalker, God knows how, who turned up on my doorstep on a number of occasions. But it is strange when one's thrown into the public eye, the public feel that they own one, and that's okay. That's okay. But I can see how it can get out of hand, and occasionally I've had emails and messages which have seemed a little bit inappropriate. I think I've had it very lucky. I can imagine how difficult it must have been for Jeremy Vine. Belfield attacked Vine. On one occasion, he explains, when Vine made a Facebook tribute to his father, who died of Parkinson's in 2018, and Alex Belfield wrote on that Facebook tribute, "What would your father have said if he had known that his son was a thieving tow rag?" Shocking. And Vine was worried, and I think this really is the key. Vine was worried about Belfield's sizable following. That's a sort of 500,000 followers. And he worried about specifically a knife or an acid attack. And his daughter, as I say, was anxious. Other people spoke of Belfield's activities as DJ Bernie Keith, who has in fact one of the convictions has been that Belfield had caused alarm or distress. The YouTuber Philip Dehaney, who specifically in court accused Belfield of perpetuating hate crime. He said he's a cyber bully. And Belfield's activity, the messages, the broadcasts, the insults, the threats, left his victims fearful and anxious. But I think it goes beyond. So Belfield's defence has been satire and mockery and journalism. And I think there's a case for that. But it becomes much harder to defend that case when his followers seem to have been incited. So the question here maybe is how much is one responsible, or how much can one be responsible for that sort of incitement to hate? I have no idea. But I think the CPS said that they were concerned about the sustained nature of this abuse. And I think that's why we need, and we have needed for some time, a proper online protection law. And it is shocking that the DCMS has failed to produce this and has failed to produce something which inspires rather than attacks. We need new inspiration. We need to revive that old tradition which the BBC inhabited of Auntie, that friend in the drawing room. That is gone, but it needs to be replaced, I think, by the same avuncular, benign image, not a malicious one. And while everybody has access to the tools to broadcast, we need to know that that malicious image is not something we are encouraging, either here or globally. And finding the tools to set up that positive image, this is difficult. This is really difficult. How are we going to lead by example? Yes, we should be ready to use social media and the internet to bring down scoundrels and rogues, to out the miscreant. But we must also embrace the audience, reassure, we must protect, so that we never have the sort of witch hunts that Vine feared that Alex Belfield was fueling. We have to establish a positive framework for broadcasting, and I think that goes not only for social media, it also goes for things like reality TV, and I don't think we have that. I don't think we have the support that is readily available to those people who are making programs and content for the internet, nor do we have the protection for the people who are perhaps victims of abuse or feel that they are victims of abuse. We need to find a way to reassure and to assess. And it cannot be, I do not think this is something that can be self-policed. So one of the problems that we've had from the DCMS is the idea that everything can be policed by individual studios, everything can be policed by individual platforms like YouTube, Netflix, whatever. They aren't there to police programs, they're there to make programs and to host programs. They aren't equipped to police or to produce psychological or medical support. We need to have others who do that. Others exist. We need to turn to them and find a way to ease them into the social media and the wider global television framework. And I think we could lead the way if we had an imaginative and thoughtful ministry that was on hand and was focused solely on this sort of issue. Therefore, I think the DCMS, among other things, should be split up. The DCMS should be, we should have one part of the DCMS which is looking at the arts and broadcast media, and another part which looks at sport. They have different pressures on them. And the days when this can be dismissed as a fun ministry, the ministry of fun, have long since gone. Social media is a serious concern and can do serious harm in exactly the same way as it can do serious good. I would like to see it a force for good.